Welcome. My name is Michael, the movie Mamba Ornelas. That is Adrian, the Gerber baby-faced assassin Cedeno. And we have a special guest today, the Playbill Prince himself, Anthony Cedeno. How you doing, young man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great. Is that how you talk to people? I love it. We're off to a flying start. Today, we are breaking down Sing Sing. But first, have you seen this? Robert Eggers is set to direct Werewolf as his next film, described as a werewolf horror set in the 13th century England, with dialogue true to its time period, which I would hope so. And it's scheduled to release again on Christmas 2026. My Eggers stock is skyrocketing, Adrian.
No, he doesn't even spell werewolf right.
Yeah, it's WERWULF. On top of that, I don't know if you've seen this. Eggers has also been announced to direct the sequel to Labyrinth, the 80s movie with David Bowie. Have you seen that one yet, Anthony? Have I shown you that?
No, you haven't put me on that one yet.
Man, it's on the list. So he's got two movies lined up, and a sequel to Labyrinth. I usually hate remakes or sequels to things, classics, but Eggers doing it is interesting. You've seen Labyrinth, right, Adrian?
No, I've never seen that. Is it like about people in a maze?
Sure. It's about a young girl who has to babysit her baby brother. I'm sure you can relate. And she is so mad that the baby keeps crying, so she asks the Goblin King to take it away, and he does. And now she regrets it and has to go through this labyrinth to get the baby back. That scratches the surface. Very far out, very out there.
Gosh,
So right up Eggers' wheelhouse. Also, this last week, nominations were announced for the Academy Awards. Not going to go through everything, but the leading nominated film is Emilia Perez with 13 nominations. It is the most ever for an international film. It is a musical. I have not seen it yet. We haven't watched that yet. I'm interested, actually, maybe Anthony, you could rejoin us on that one since you're, our theater musical expert. Just some context, maybe Anthony, before I dive a little bit deeper here. What's your background here? Why did I have you? Why are you here?
So my background in arts is that I've been doing dance for about 7-8 years now, and I've been doing musical theater for about 5, and then just normal theater for about 3. So I've been doing arts for a while. Oh, and vocals for 2. So
Okay.
I've got, I've been doing a lot of lessons and doing a lot of things, that are concerned in the arts. And I've been telling Mikey for quite a while now, like, hey, like, let's do a musical podcast. Like, let me get in on it or whatever. So I think that's like the perfect segment of like I get into, because even watching the movie we watched, it was very like I could relate. No, not relate. More just like I understood it a little bit different because they were talking about theater and they were like talking about the feelings and the emotions and everything that it invokes. So
Well said. Just one correction. That's Nino to you.
you're right.
Yeah, let's get that straight. Academy Awards will be March 2nd, 4 p.m. So we'll have a few episodes covering some of the nominations there as we progress. George Nolfi, writer for Ocean's 12, The Bourne Ultimatum. He is now penned as the new writer for the new Star Wars movie focused on Rey. This takes place apparently 15 years after the rise of Skywalker. Anthony, your eyes are lighting up. What, again, the kids on the street, what do they think about Star Wars nowadays? Is it got that magic still, or?
Well, being in high school, it's still like, oh, you're a nerd. Like you watch Star Wars. And I'm pretty sure that's timeless. So I feel like people pretty still feel the same way. And also, a lot of people that like I know, the nerds that I talk to that do watch Star Wars and are into it are like after the first one with Rey or whatever, like the 7th one that came out. They were like,
the episode 7 is the first one with Rey, The Force Awakens. So the next one, I think The Last Jedi is what you're referring.
After I heard that one, it was just like that people have just been like,
Gave
dude,
up.
this, yeah, it's like watching like the eighth Fast and Furious. Like, dude, like what's the like? You're just doing it for the money. Like, come on.
You're gonna get the Fast and Furious clan after you after this. Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm happy to hear that disappointment is universal and not just us older heads. Well, yeah, so keep an eye out for that. Another Star Wars movie. Let's see if it has any success. Susan Byer, director of Bird Box, she is set to direct she's in talks to direct Practical Magic 2, which would reunite Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock. I think this movie might be before your time, Anthony. It's all the witches out there. They like their practical magic. It's kind of like a rom-com witchy kind of movie. Very popular during Halloween. But yeah. So if you're looking forward to Practical Magic 2, another sequel that no one asked for, it should be coming out soon. Speaking of sequels no one asked for, this one I actually am looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to it too.
Scary Movie 6 is now scheduled to release June 12th of 2026. This franchise, I mean, we talked about it a little bit on another episode, but Scary Movie, you had to be there. I don't know, Anthony, are you familiar, or do like your generation know Scary Movie, what that is?
Okay, is Scary Movie the one with where the guy has the mask, the ghost mask? Or is it the one where it's like the stupid one where they're like, what?
It's a stupid one.
It's
the stupid?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Marlon Wayans, but they make fun of all the scary movies.
Yeah. Right,
Yeah.
yeah,
So they're like
yeah.
the parody of horror
Right,
movies.
right.
Specifically started with the first Scary Movie, tackling like late 90s, I think, was the time period of movies. And Scream, the one with the masked ghost face,
Ghost.
is the main one that they were like parodying as the evil character.
I've seen two of the Scary Movies, and they were like super, super stupid.
You didn't like them?
No, I like them. They're just super stupid. Like, they're just dumb. Like they're pushing the granny downstairs and
I'm
the
sure.
piano on top.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
super
Taking a
dumb.
strong hand. Yeah. Well, yeah. So we got a new one coming out. I'm sure we'll have to do like a rewatch of some of these, because I only remember watching maybe to like the third one.
Do we know who the actors are?
Not
That
yet.
been announced?
I mean, it is the Wayans brothers putting it together and writing.
Okay, cool.
I'd imagine they know how important it is to bring back some of that original cast.
Yeah.
Anna Faris. I mean, yeah, we'll have to rewatch those, because again, I've only seen I think the first two, but they're pretty good. And then housekeeping. We are figuring out our format here on this podcast, so appreciate all you that are listening or watching, sharing, liking, all the thing. And we are trying to improve ourselves. Again, I forgot during our conclave review to do our stock draft, where we pick someone from the movie and then we, as the host, have their stock, and we watch their career as it progresses. So we don't have Erica here, but we did convene offline. Since Adrian got last place in the animated animals draft, I got first place, just to say I decrowned Erica, since we haven't had a chance to talk about it. No shit talk. You're just gonna let me.
I'm gonna let you go because she's not even here to defend herself.
Right.
Yeah, it was really close again. It came down to the last few hours, and that's fair. I'll wait till Erica gets here to boast. But yeah, so Adrian, with the first pick in the conclave draft, you took
Stanley Tucci.
Excellent pick. It's interesting to see what kind of roles he's going to get, because he did that TV travel show for a bit. And I think this was the first major movie I'd seen him in since that.
I think he's trying to write and produce.
Oh, really, huh?
Yeah.
Erica, she took Ralph Fiennes, big
Rafe.
nose breather, Rafe. His name is Rafe Fiennes. And then that left me with a few options, but I went with the director, Edward Berger. I think he's got a bright future. And again, we're going to have to improve on some of these picks. All the movies we pick are pretty tight. This one's going to be the same thing as far as who we can pick, because the actors are limited. But without further ado, let's dive into our review of Sing Sing.
Have you seen this?
Have you seen it?
Have you seen this?
I know, I've seen this. I know this.
So Anthony, you're our guest specialist. So maybe you can start us off on what you thought of Sing Sing. High level, spoiler free.
I thought it was really good. I, you kind of know my movie background. Feel like I've watched a grip of important movies that have been vital to like understanding film.
Give me some
But
examples. I mean, the community aren't familiar with your taste.
well, for those of you who don't know, Mikey's forced me to watch movies like Donnie Darko,
Again, Nino, but go
Ni-
ahead.
Nina, just a lot of good, solid movies. And I feel like this really was one of them because I feel like him as a character, as the main character, he was very like he symbolized a lot. Like I feel like it dives into like the struggle, the system, and like a lot of things like that, like of that nature. And I feel like him going through, prison and these other challenges, like you could see how healed he was in a way with theater and with acting and arts and everything. Like
Just to clarify, you're saying him. Do you mean Divine G or Divine I?
I'm talking Divine G.
Divine G. So Divine G is Coleman Domingo's character, who's kind of like the leader, right?
Yeah, the
Okay.
story follows him.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Go
Yeah.
ahead, sir.
And I just think it's very powerful to see like how art can really hold someone together. One of our buddies, Manuel, last time I had a conversation with him, we talked about how art is like the way that people express their like true like anger, like their rooted emotion is like what comes out in art. And if people don't have an outlet, they could take it in like a lot of bad ways. And we talked about how people could become alcoholics and all this other abusers of different substances and all this stuff. Like, and I feel like this was a true testament to that, where it's people like are struggling in prison and like the system and everything. And it just shows you exactly how art, you know, let let that go for people and like gives them the space to just to be in the moment and just themselves rather than being who they have to be. And I even think the Divine Eye, the co-star of the movie, he is a good representation of that, of like he has to be a certain way. He doesn't have the choice to be who he really is until art lets that through, you know? So yeah, so that's my thoughts on it. I thought it was a really powerful movie, and I think it was very different than what
Mm.
I'm used to watching.
Was it different than what you expected? Like when you're like, oh, Nino wants me to watch some
A
movie
prison
called
movie.
Sing Sing. Yeah. Like what were you expecting going into it?
I don't know. Because even my dad told me, he was like, "Oh yeah, it's like a movie about these guys in prison and they have acting class and like they do theater and this, that." And
What
I
a
was like,
pitch.
That's not how I pitched it.
Okay.
Prison
well,
reform.
I heard that and I was like, part of me was like, "Oh, it's gonna be like The Longest Yard, where it's like they're playing football, they're like in a movie or something." But then I would watch it and I was like, "Oh, this is not what I expected." Like even the way it opens is like not very like
Mm,
it was like, oh, it's not that kind of movie. It's like this.
mm.
And I feel like even like the quality of it, like I felt like there's a filter over the whole movie, and it felt like it was like almost older in a way, you know?
Excellent.
I like the graininess of it. It did almost give it like you're in a prison. Like it
Mhm.
shouldn't be in high definition and perfect. Like it's a prison camera almost, like essentially like a surveillance video is kind of like the feel like it had.
Well, we'll expand. We'll transition over to your overall thoughts, Adrian. What were you thinking? It sounds like you enjoyed it as well.
I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
I rated it on Letterboxd 4.5.
Wow.
I really enjoyed it. I don't give many 4.5ers. Very
You're
rare have I
pretty
gone 5.
strict.
Yeah. To get 5 stars, you have to be rewatchability. Like I want to watch this movie over and over again. I got it 4.5 because I could watch this over again. It definitely had a good vibe to it. The reformation process, kind of like seems lost, right?
Mm.
And to have a program like theater and have, like Anthony said, it be a way to heal these people's traumas, what was pretty beautiful to watch. And so I really enjoyed the script, the writing. I really appreciated that these were actual people playing themselves. They actually went through the program and reformed themselves. So it was really a nice movie to watch. Really appreciated it and really tackled some of the issue, like Anthony said, between Divine I and Divine G. Was pretty spot on. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, this film was directed by Greg Quetter. And what's interesting is the writing credits is because it does consist of these people as well. John H. Richardson, based on the Sing Sing Follies. Brent Buell, who is the director. We see his character as the white guy.
He's
that's
like the
in
director
jail.
of the theater. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the director of the theater. So the actual real guy, Brent Buell, helped write this as well as Clint Bentley, Greg Quetter, also part of the writing. Clarence Macklin, who played Divine I, and then you got John Divine G. Whitfield, also part of the writing credits. So it's pretty impressive that they're all involved in the story. The screenplay itself was by Clint Bentley and Greg Quetter. But to your point, Adrian, I say all that is that you can feel how grounded in reality this movie is, and specifically in the performances by these former inmates that were a part of this program. It made the prison feel very lived in, very real. And I think, before I proceed, I should actually have my friend that I have in town here let you know how I feel about this movie. Mr. Keating, you may know him from the Dead Poet Society, played by the legend himself, Robin Williams. But let me have Mr. Keating come in here and let you know how I felt about Sing Sing.
Medicine, law, business, engineering, these are noble pursuits and necessary to sustain life. But poetry, beauty, romance, love, these are what we stay alive for.
I mean, even people that aren't in jail or prison or incarcerated, like
keeping them out of it and giving them
them out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm not talented by any means, but when I go through certain trials and tribulations, my mind automatically goes to like a creative space as an outlet. And you're definitely going to encounter difficult situations in prison. And the fact that they have this outlet, what it means to everyone too, that everyone's like on board. We'll touch base a little bit more on spoilers and the specifics there, but also like Anthony said, I just wanted to double click how you said this movie isn't like, what you expected, but it's also the way it's told is different too. Everything about this movie is different when you think of a prison movie. And I think I really appreciated that because we have a lot of that. We have a lot of movies that understand like what happens in prison on the violent side or the this or that. And this movie, that wasn't its focus.
And I also think it's cool because like you said, like kind of like the quote you just had, like even in my real life, like even in like the most traumatic moments, like I feel like it's almost by human nature that people go to art, like during all the wars, like that's when the most beautiful artwork was ever made. And like, that's when art is like huge. Like, I just think that shows like, it's not just people in prison, like it's a human nature thing is what I'm trying to say,
Any artist, every artist goes through that. I mean, musicians, the trauma is the art, and you'll see it as soon as those traumas get healed. Sometimes the art's not the same,
Sure.
Especially with like musicians. Yeah,
That's a real thing. And a lot of times, some artists don't want to get sober because they're afraid they're going to lose that magic, that like it's your trauma's healed. So now my performance isn't as good or my product isn't as good. So yeah, that's a real good and interesting point.
And even like as an artist, like I feel like when I was going through like prime puberty and like that was like when I was like
last year,
everything, like I think that was when like I was most into dance. Like the time I was like fully like in dance and like my whole heart is like there. I feel like has been when like like it just feels good to just leave my problems at the door. And it's almost like kind of like how me and our friend Manuel said, how it's people can like abuse art instead of a substance, where it's like
Mhm.
you're using that to wipe your head. Like you're using this for dopamine, and it's like good and it's positive, and it's like it it's almost just like it's like fixing in a way, you know. And I feel like that's kind of like what we're talking about. Like I feel like a lot of art, a lot of performers, like you said, like I think a lot of people are like that, and I understand that, you know.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. If we can go back to something you said, prime puberty. What does that consist of? I'm just curious. How do you what happens in prime puberty?
I think prime puberty is like, oh my gosh, like why am I upset for no reason? Why am I sad?
Mm,
Why is this? Why do I care about
Emotional.
this?
A lot
Emotional
of emotional
baggage.
variety of mood swings, things like
Yeah,
this.
mood
Okay.
swings, like
All right. All right. All
feel
right.
good, felt later, like my mom, like just everything. You know?
Throwing her under the bus. Well, excellent answer. Way to answer that one. Good one. Well, without further ado, let's just get into spoiler talk so we can talk a little bit more freely.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, so I'll start with spoiler. I really like that this movie, like I was kind of hinting at, doesn't go into like all the dark side of prison and the things that can happen there, right? It hints at it. The movie opens giving you all the background you need to know what prison life is like, right? There's a point where you're kind of seeing the day to day. The alarm goes off and everyone hits the ground. So it does a good job of placing you into the prison early. And then even Divine Eye, right? Like his whole interest in joining this program, but also like essentially being a drug dealer in the prison, going after people to collect. Uh, that enough hints at it's an innuendo into what happens in prison that isn't kosher, that isn't part of the reform system. But it gets that out of the way early so then we can focus on this theater company, this group of, I want to say maybe about 10 inmates or so, 8 to 10 inmates are part of this program that ultimately put on plays, put on musicals, whatever. And we meet them finishing up a performance, if I'm not mistaken, and then they're figuring out,
The neck.
all right, what do we do next? What do we do next? And just to touch on like that opening, it's a great way to get you locked in. Know all the characters, you know where they're at, you know what their motivations are for the most part. Some of that comes up a little bit later too. But I'll just say one more thing. What I really like about the opening is that we don't dive right into like Divine G. Why is he in prison? Is he falsely accused? Is he innocent? We don't even touch on any of that until the last act of the movie. Like we start touching on his story. And I appreciate that because it's so different. We're so used to getting that exposition that's talking about, oh, this is our main character. We should root for him. He's falsely like, we didn't even need that because it was about the program. He was just an example of the benefits of that program. But I'll throw it to you, Adrian. What were some things that stuck out to you that maybe would spoil the movie otherwise?
Man, Mike, bro.
Miguelito.
That was terrible. I'm glad it was an aneurysm and it's not like he killed himself or something like that. Like I'm glad it was just something. What the hell's a brain
Freak.
aneurysm?
Yeah.
So that's my big spoiler. That one hurt because I really connected with their relationship, and I think that was a part of the beautifulness of it is because they are being vulnerable, right?
Mhm.
Like you're in a prison where vulnerability will get you killed.
Yeah.
So this being their place where they can be vulnerable and then almost using like therapy, like to be able to talk as in a group about some of the issues is really dope. And I appreciated Divine I and Divine G's relationship, how it evolved from the beginning where he's like, I don't care if we're doing theater, don't stand behind me. Like, what's
Right.
wrong with you? Like, we're
Right.
still like, yeah,
Like,
you
what's
got
up?
theater, we're still in prison. Like,
Yeah.
and how that slowly started to fade and like it kind of pinned them against each other at the beginning, and then to see them become like a brotherhood
Yeah.
of men, was dope. It wasn't like your typical prison movie that, like you guys said, it's the worst of a prison. Not so much reform, but more education into criminal minds.
Sure.
This was an actual reform story, and it was beautiful to see. Definitely.
And the Miguelito piece that you mentioned really acted as like the emotional thread of this movie, right? Because you don't even see it coming. Like, you don't expect that's where they're going to take you, right? Because he's kind of like the right-hand man, more or less, to Divine G. And he's talking about how he just found out that his grandma died, right?
Yeah.
He was talking to Divine G through the cell wall, like, my grandma just died. And he talks about how special his grandma was and how hard it was. And then the next day we find out, he had a brain aneurysm. And you don't see it coming. And I think that's a great structure for the movie, because you think the real emotional weight is going to come from Divine G or even Divine I, which we do get some of that,
Like
for sure.
from their traumas, and
Yeah.
they came from Miguelito, and even then how his death kicked off something in Divine G that threatened the show, and
Yeah.
the emotions it pulled from him, like, that is legit trauma. And
Yeah.
I mean, he had to go through it. His having
Even like
Miguelito die kicked, like, definitely triggered that
Course
in
of
Divine
action
G.
that came.
Yeah.
And I think definitely with like what there was like what I forgot his name, but he was saying, he was like, I could understand this. I understand why someone gets stabbed. I understand all the stuff that happened. But he's like, a brain aneurysm, like, I don't get it. And I feel like that really shows something too. Like, it's not just like kind of like you said earlier, like, it doesn't play into like a regular prison movie where it's like, oh, you got stabbed, violence, whatever. Like, it was like, oh no,
Natural
it's not
causes.
cause.
Yeah.
It just happens, So I feel like that also plays into like that same kind of thing where it's not,
Yeah.
it's different,
And another good point you made, Adrian, was saying how, like, these guys are being vulnerable in a place where being vulnerable can get you in trouble. And on the filmmaking side of things, I think a lot of the shot selections that they went with show that vulnerability, like close-ups on the face, like a lot of words being said through facial expression, right? So I think that's a great point. Just wanted to mention that. Anthony, anything spoiler specific that caught your attention or you want to touch on?
Yeah, so kind of like from what my dad was saying, how it was very how Mike's death kind of led into like different events, and the event I was gonna go with was his breakdown, because I feel like that was so like huge, because I feel like it was finally the moment where I feel like the whole time Divine I kind of symbolized like the system and like the product of it, and he's just has to be who he is. And I feel like what led up to his breakdown being Mike and his sentence or what all the I feel like the breakdown really symbolized like it doesn't change anything. Like I could be okay, and like art can make me feel better, but at the end of the day, I'm still who I am, and there's nothing you could do about it, especially in his shoes being in prison and everything. And I feel like that was very, that's my spoiler. And I feel like that was just like so heavy. Like, it was like, you can't change. Like, you don't have a choice. Like, you do everything you can, but at the end of the day, you're still trapped.
Right, because he was the good guy in the sense, right? Like, he was portrayed like, hey, we hear you have a video that proves your innocence. Like, yeah, I hope so. I hope it's my golden goose, And so he's portrayed as the good guy, and then Divine Eye is portrayed as, like Anthony said, like, not really there for reform. He's just a thug and a gangster, and I just got caught.
Trying to find a way out. Yeah.
And not even really finding a way out. Like, he was cool being in there. It wasn't until Divine G brought up, like, hey man, like, I hear you're up for parole. Like, are you gonna go for that? And so you're still seeing Divine G as like the savior, as like the hero of the movie. And then all of a sudden he's not being treated like a hero because Divine I is the one that gets released on parole. And Divine G, who is the good guy, is like, nah, sorry, you're going to stay in prison. And it just seems unfair. Like, all all the world's problems are falling on him, and he's just taking it on the chin every single time. And this is just with Mike's death, it sets off this just random change of events that it just kicks him off into a spiral where he breaks down.
Yeah, and I think it also represents that, like, even the coolest heads have a point. You know what I mean? Like, this throughout the whole movie, Divine G is the cool, calm, collected one. Like, let's talk it out. Let's confront it, but let's talk it out. This is how it is. Whatever. All right. You know what you want to do? You want to do this comedy that our director just chat GPT'd in like one day. He came up with that script super quick. But like, he's like, cool. All right. Like, he's a team player, even though you can tell like it's bothering him. And then it gets to this point where like he snaps. He didn't get the lead role, which he dealt with, and he worked with Divine Eye to work with them. But then the day of the show of, I think, the dress rehearsal, he just lost his shit. His parole didn't get granted. They said that tape, that evidence wasn't going to be admissible in court. Just like everything's falling apart, right? And I think it was really an excellent buildup of this character and his arc. And again, like you said, Divine Eye's arc of switching roles, It's kind of like that saying, like if you're in a boat in the middle of the sea and one person is panicking, like the other person's got to be calm and cool. Like they may switch roles, but you can't both be, fucked at the same time. I think I really enjoyed the movie. I too, I actually have it as one of my best of the year. I think I have it at like number 7. I got a couple more movies to watch before I finish that list. But I really enjoyed it. One nitpick, if I can, we've been praising this movie, but let me be a jerk and give some feedback. I think Divine G ultimately being released was a beautiful scene. Like when he gets out and Divine Eye is there to pick him up, and like that embrace is super powerful. Like 100%, that works. I think my problem is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it felt really convenient that he was now free. Like nothing necessarily happened to be like, oh, okay, hey, we found out XYZ, so like you're released. He just ended up getting that thinner
letter,
mailed letter that signifies like you've been released. So, was it required? Are we just supposed to take it at face value that it worked out for him? I don't know.
I think you're supposed to take it as so earlier in the movie he explains to Divine Eye like, okay, you apply for, or you request your parole, and you fill out, the whole process. You have to do essay, whatever. And then he's like, okay, well, what if they say no? He's like, then we keep trying, and we keep trying, and we keep trying. So I think that's where you got to kind of go back. Like, that was the foreshadowing. Like, you assume that even though he had a breakdown, he comes back, he snaps back into it. And he keeps trying and keeps trying, and then eventually gets it. Because they were trying to hold it against him. Like, that was messed up. That, oh, well, are you acting now? Like,
right. During his hearing, like they really, all this acting you're talking about, you could be acting right now. How do you know you're reformed or whatever? Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, it's definitely one of those things where if you are involved, or you've ever done an acting class, or you've ever done an improv class, Anthony, you're kind of hinting at this, like, you can relate to it, like knowing what it's like to be Divine Eye and coming into like acting for the first time, and you're kind of like reserved and you haven't really let go, and I would imagine, I can't speak, I haven't spent enough time there, but you could probably relate if you've been in prison too, and you're trying to look for this kind of avenue, you know what I mean? This avenue of reform. One other thing that I noticed during this movie is they really knew how to go for the heart, right? Miguelito's grandma, I think he was also talking, and correct me if I'm wrong, but someone had like their pit bull put down or something, right? Remember that?
Yeah, so the guy came back. He was already released from prison.
Oh, that's
he came
right.
back as like a guest.
That was a super dope scene too, because again, everyone that was in this movie outside of the director and Coleman Domingo was previously incarcerated and part of this program, and then this guy comes back to visit them, like in the prison, in the program, and like, man, that felt so real. Like that guy talking, like I bought it. I felt like I was there sitting, and like this is an OG that's like been through it. You know what I mean?
So I would say, kind of like how you said, like, oh, I have my one nitpick. I feel like my one nitpick is that scene. because
Okay.
it was really great. Like, it was powerful, and I feel like it really did its purpose. But I do wish, the same way how there was like no explanation of like how he got out, I feel like there was really no explanation of who this guy, like why, like we have no idea. Like,
He just was there one day.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
why was he gonna be like a lift for all the guys? Like, why did he bring them in? Like, hey guys, check out who it is. You know,
like why do these guys care? Like, who, like what's their relation?
he
I
was
feel like,
one of them.
yeah, and I feel like even if they just like said a subtle like, oh, remember da da da, like I feel like that would have been like
They didn't
enough.
say nothing like that. They didn't
It
say
is.
something like, "Hey," like I think they explained it to Divine Eye, right? Because everybody knows this old cat, but Divine Eye doesn't. And I feel like someone mentions like, "Oh, he used to be part of the program
Right.
or something," right?
Oh,
Yeah.
I miss it.
Maybe.
Hey.
But I get it. I think I think the same thing. We're left to assume he's an old school, used to be part of this program. It saved his life. You know what I mean? And he's here to kind of give a testimonial to the inmates there. But I really appreciated the way everyone was bought in. Like, yo, if you fuck this up, you're fucking it up for all of us. This is all we have to look forward to. Like, this is it. Some of us ain't getting out of here, and this is it. You know what I mean? And I think that was really powerful, especially, again, I can't say it enough. These were formerly incarcerated people. So they're, one, they enjoy acting because they're part of the program. And two, this is their real story. This is their 15 minutes. You know what I mean? So I'm really happy that this movie was made. I would definitely recommend it.
Something I did like about that scene though is like he kind of relate like to us, not really like in there, but he kind of, I feel like he related to Divine Eye because he said I had this many daughters and a wife or whatever, and then my pit bull was the only one that was excited to see me.
Sure.
And I feel like that almost like related to like Divine Eye because he was saying about his daughter, or
His
he had
son is in prison
his
with
son.
him.
Yeah. And I feel like that kind of connected the characters in a way. It kind of like, I feel like subconsciously it put something in my mind at least of like that's what happened to Divine Eye when he got out. It was like he found peace in something,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah,
In his truck.
Yeah. His truck. Yeah. His nice whip.
yeah.
No, that's a great point. You guys know, and some of our listeners may know, I have a pit bull mix. So anytime you talked about like I think that might have been the time I got the most emotional when he was talking about like, yeah, I had to put him down. And, I've talked about it before. Kenny's a bit older, his time may be coming sooner than later. But, and best believe we're having an all dog draft when that happens. We're doing something to cope on the podcast. But yeah, Sing Sing, I'm really glad Coleman Domingo got nominated. I thought his performance was incredible. I think everybody's performance was incredible. It's interesting because these guys aren't professional actors, and you can tell, but I mean that almost as like a compliment. Like, you needed this. You needed to have non-professional actors where sometimes you can tell they're acting, but it's their real story. You know what I mean? Did you guys pick up on that? Like, could you tell they weren't real actors from the jump? No? You have to say no?
Yeah, I felt like I went into the movie knowing that they're playing themselves, right? So I didn't know who, I didn't know how many. So it was kind of refreshing to know that it was like all of them except Coleman. But I mean, I just appreciated the entire movie, and the cast was great. I don't think the acting, you could say it was bad at all. I don't know that I could feel like they were acting. I felt like they were just telling their story.
That's what a great actor does. Like, I feel like if you're a really good actor, you can't tell that it's not their story, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I never felt that. I never was like I feel like there's a few actors that I could like see right through, like Jamie Foxx, Timothy
Wow, this guy is coming out firing.
Jamie Foxx, Timothy Chalamet. Like, I could just like anytime I'm watching one of their movies, I'm watching this guy act, you know? Like, I could see him acting, you know?
You
And,
know,
like,
so here's the thing. I want to push back a little bit because I've recently bought into Timmy, but I won't even go with him. What Jamie Foxx movies are you referring to that you've seen?
He's
um,
referring to a stand-up comedy. His
Maybe.
newest,
okay,
his
I saw
newest
a
Netflix
stand-up
special.
I stand up comedy, but I already felt this way before it. And seeing that, it just like solidified my point of view of like, yeah, like definitely.
Okay, name me a movie you've seen with him that you felt this
Um,
way.
the most recent one I saw, what was it called? The most recent one I saw of him, I love this movie. I watch it every now and then.
Clearly.
It's Power. Have you seen that
Okay.
one? It's like
No.
the kills and it gives them like superpowers for like 15 minutes. And it's really good. It's a great movie. But like even watching that one, it's just like, oh, like I can see it. Like I can see you like playing. I can see you like leaning into it. You know,
You
rather
can
than
feel the acting.
yes.
Wow. Listen, first of all, watch Ray. I don't know if he won the Academy Award for Best Actor in Ray. Yeah, dude, he won Best Actor for Ray. So nonetheless, this isn't the point. You're just throwing out shots at Jamie Foxx for no reason. And
I'm
Timmy.
just like I could see it through some people, but not from any of the actors in this
Sure,
movie. Like
sure.
felt they were acting. You
It
know,
almost felt like part documentary in that
Yeah.
way. Like there's, especially when they're in like the circle and they're kind of talking things out. Like I wouldn't be surprised if some of that was even like on the spot. You know what I mean? Not improv per se, but like they had room to just, this is what we're talking about. Take it somewhere, you know.
I felt that way when they were doing the auditions because I feel like the auditions,
Mm.
it was so like it looked like an audition. Like
Yeah.
I've been to auditions and they're like, okay, like read this, read whatever, and then it's just like, oh, okay, and then you're just like trying to figure it out, or like, oh, pretend like you're. I remember one time they were like, pretend you're a construction worker, and the scene is next to an orphanage, and boom, or something like that. And I was like, okay, and I got in a wrecking ball, and then like, like it was just like so like I've been in that kind of situation, and
Yeah.
like I was like, oh, like I've done that, like I've been forced to just improv and just figure it out. So I felt very connected to that scene, and it also made it feel like real, like
Yeah.
you said, documentary almost.
That's part of the process you go through, you know. It's like, all right, we're gonna start by we're walking in a circle and yeah, you're carrying a heavy weight. What does that look like? You know, just these different exercises. And then even when the OG comes back to visit, he's like, yo, let me do something with you guys. And like, all right, let's do some exercise. And it's just like riding a bike, like just getting back into it, which yeah, super powerful, makes it real.
There's this one exercise they make us do before like any audition or anything, and it's like it's called "Don't Get Me Started," and it's like they'll tell you like, okay, we're gonna give you a topic, and then you're gonna say, "Don't even get me started on that," and then you're gonna just make up a bunch of stuff about that topic,
And on that, yeah.
and you're gonna feel however you want to feel about that topic. You're gonna get crazy on it. And like in my mind, I was like watching, I was like hoping like they say it, like do that exercise. Like I love that one. Like
Yeah, there's so many various games and warm-ups when it comes to improv and acting, but it was cool that they captured some of them here. Anything else you guys want to touch on before we go to our double feature recommendations? Yeah, Anthony.
yeah. So just to be clear, because I never got it. Divine I, he mentions to Divine G like with like when he was like selling drugs and stuff. He said, "If I don't punk him, who's going to?" Was that for he is a drug dealer and is doing everything, or is that him acting as one in a way, like not like he's just doing it to protect them? Like, was he having a heart by doing that, or was he just?
I didn't interpret it that way.
Okay.
He tried to justify what he's doing and have reasoning to be like, well, I got to do it, otherwise
Somebody
you
else
guys
is
are
gonna
gonna
do
get
it.
punked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might as well be
no,
me
he
making
was,
money.
yeah. So he's definitely like involved in being the drug dealer.
Yeah.
I mean, he can have a heart, but it wasn't looking out for these other people. Like really.
Okay.
It
Because
just
I thought he was like protecting them. Like by when they said that, I was like, oh. And then it
Too
never
many
brought
prison movies, Anthony. No, he's my bitch. No, it doesn't work that way.
yeah. I'm somebody's bitch.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, let's jump into our double feature recommendations, our pairings here. Anthony, What are you recommending from the Gen Z side of things for a pairing for this movie?
So I talked to my dad before we got on the podcast, and he was telling me like how it is and like how you guys usually do double headers or double features, whatever. And he was telling me, he was like, do it in a different direction, like go completely whatever. And then I looked at a list of the movies that I've seen with my dad, and then I was gonna go with Get Hard with Kevin Hart and
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell, because I feel like it's so like it's completely different kind of prison movie, you know. And I feel like in the movie that we watched,
Your FBI agent agrees. Yeah.
and Sing Sing, like I was talking with my dad about how these prisoners are like hard, like they're tough and they're whatever. And hey now,
Go on.
I feel like they're just tough and they're finally finding the space to be vulnerable and to be open and like just themselves and be free to express themselves. And I think it's funny because that movie, he's that going into it, he has to learn to be tough, you know. He's doing the opposite. Like he was like nerdy and just like accounting and all this stuff, and then goes into being, you know, like I have to learn how to be tough, and they're learning to be tough. So it's like all this other, you know. I thought that was interesting, and I feel like that would be also give like a different feel, you know, because I feel like one was very serious, and then the other one's just like
A comedy.
all right, it's just stupid, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Mix it up. That's fair. You know, it's hard to watch two heavy movies or two. I mean, you know, this movie wasn't necessarily heavy, but it was emotional. Like it had weight to it for sure. So Anthony is recommending Get Hard with Kevin Hart, who is, in his opinion, the superior actor to Jamie Foxx. No, definitely. Oh, these kids. All right. Adrian, what do you got?
So I'm gonna go with a movie from 2017. I just recently watched it. It was called Shot Caller.
Okay.
It's directed by Rick Roman Woff. Woo. I don't know how to say that. Waugh. It's our boy from
Game of Thrones, right?
Game of Thrones, Lannister. Yeah,
Nicola.
Nicola.
Old dude.
Yeah, this is an interesting take on a prison movie, because it's not so much innocent. He's a successful family man, businessman, and just gets in a tough situation where they had a drink. He gets into an accident, somebody dies. Now he's, going to prison.
I know. Just you like to spoil things, so I just want to make sure you're not in fifth gear and spoil it for everyone.
Yeah, you guys got to watch this movie.
Okay. I mean, listen, you can talk about it. Just
No, it's just his story of in prison, right?
Sounds
like
interesting. Yeah.
as a businessman and how to survive in prison, like how he has to go about it. But it is a really powerful movie.
It almost sounds like a more like a drama version that would pair nice with Get Hard, right? Like, because
Yes.
he's not like a
Yes,
prisoner. Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
but he actually has to become like he's in prison for years and has to survive.
Hence it's called Shot Caller.
Correct.
And like,
Correct.
if you look at the poster of the movie, like he looks pretty intimidating.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not how he goes in.
All right. All right.
So-
No, that's good. That's good. Good pitch.
Yeah.
I'm going a different route. You guys went to the jail theme. I'm going more of the importance of art theme and recommending Dead Poet Society. That's the movie that I got my friend Mr. Keating from. 1989 movie, incredibly powerful film. Where a teacher comes into this. I don't know if it's a reform school or a military. I don't think it's It's like a Catholic school.
Very school, I don't think.
It's not military. No. It's like there's a name that I'm forgetting.
Boarding school.
Shorter. Like a boarding school. Thank you. That's it. So Dead Poet Society, they're at a boarding school. All of these kids, very strict, Catholic,
Regiment.
discipline and regiment and schedule and everything. Right. And then Robin Williams' character, Mr. Keating, comes in and like just opens their eyes to the beauty of what they're learning in literature and poetry and the arts. And I think you have a ensemble of kids, including Ethan Hawke, who one of my favorite actors, end up learning to genuinely love the arts and love poetry, and they go in secret. And again, it's quite an old movie, so I don't know if spoilers still matter with this one, but a very heavy movie at times, a very fun movie at times, and like all Robin Williams movies, this is my take. Here's my hot take for you guys. Robin Williams isn't a comedic actor. He is a drama actor that is funny. You know what I mean? Like, if you think of his movies outside of like a Flubber or, his voice on Aladdin or whatever, yeah, his movies are heavy. Like, Mrs. Doubtfire is about divorce, and like it's heavy. And the same thing goes with the Dead Poet Society. It's beautiful, heavy, and I think really would be a nice pair to watch something to stay in the arts lane. That brings us to, I'm not forgetting this time, we're drafting stock. Now, Anthony, you get to draft some stock here. We'll give you a shout out whenever one of your picks has some news or upcoming projects. This one's tough again because we really have a couple of professional actors, the director, and that's about it, really. In order to pick the order here, I've got our lovely names. I added you.
Awesome.
Play Bill Prince here.
I think we should just give the guests first pick.
First?
I mean, he's a guest. Why not?
And then what? I go last again?
You can go second. I'll go last.
All right, Anthony, who do you want? So pretty much what this is you pick someone from the movie to claim as you owning stock. So as they progress in their career, if they do good movies or bad movies or they haven't gotten work in a while, your value goes down. So who would you take from this movie?
So going into this movie, I didn't know like any actors in it. I didn't know any, and I haven't done any research on them. So I'm gonna just go. I think I'm just go with the main character,
Coleman Domingo.
Coleman Domingo. Yeah.
Yeah, a great pick as he's nominated for Best Actor in the Academy Awards for this movie. He's got a lot of projects that he's done already and upcoming projects. So Coleman Domingo.
What are some movies he's been in?
Well, he really hit the scene in Euphoria. He was, I don't know if you did Euphoria. I don't think your mom might have let you on that one. But
Transformers, Candyman.
oh, there you go. Oh, he was in Lincoln.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he was in Lincoln. He was in Fear of the Walking Dead for a few episodes, 109 episodes. He was in Selma. So Rustin was last 2023. He got a lot of acclaim in that role. So yeah, he's definitely got a lot of projects, and now's a good time to get his stock because he's definitely trending upwards.
Okay.
Great pick. So you're giving me the second pick.
Yes.
You don't want to do a quick rock, paper, scissors or something?
Nah, you're all good. You're all good.
Okay. Well, again, we're there's really two picks here. You have the director, like I said, assuming he's gonna, make more movies from here. And then the other person that I could draft is the person that played the director.
Paul Racy.
Yeah, Paul Racy. I think I'm gonna take Paul Racy just because I saw another movie he was in, The Sound of Metal. I don't know if either of you guys saw that one, but that was nominated for an Academy Award, I think, a couple years ago. And he was really powerful and stood out in that movie. And I think the same here. He did a great job. So I'd look forward to seeing him in more projects. So I'll take Paul Racy, who played Brent Buell. Adrian.
All right. So, I'm gonna go on a limb, and I'm gonna take one of the actual reformed prisoners. I think he's gonna get some roles. I think he showed.
Are you talking about Clarence Macklin?
Negative. I'm gonna go
not
Mike. We're gonna go Sean San Jose.
Wow.
I think he had he did that crying scene really well, and I think it was enough that he has a good mug. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's made for screen, made for TV, made for movie. I wanted to go with Clarence, but there was just something like it's just not like his mug is just not Hollywood mug, right? So I take Mike, Sean San Jose. I think he's gonna have some roles. I think he'll be a legit actor and turn professional.
I'll tell you what, Adrian, if he ends up going into an acting profession, you need to change jobs and become a Hollywood scout, a talent agent. Because
this is his second movie.
Everything you said is accurate. I agree.
This is his second movie.
What else did he do?
He did Dream for an Insomniac.
Okay.
It came out in '96, directed by
Oh,
Tiffany
wow.
DeBartolo.
I wonder. I'm curious. See, that makes me curious about his story. Do you think he acted before he got locked up, and then got locked up?
Yeah, and he
Right.
was Juice in that. Yeah, so there
Interesting.
you go.
Okay.
Boom.
All right. Good pick. Good pick. I like it. I like it. And lastly, our Commodus scale. Anthony, just so you know, and our first time listeners, this is where we give a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or an even thumb, like Commodus from Gladiator. Have you seen Gladiator, Anthony, the original?
No, I've seen parts of it, but not all of it.
I got to get you on it. That's a good
But
one.
you understand the concept, like after a gladiator battle, if the emperor said this and you would leave him alone, wouldn't let him live. If he went like that, then all right, kill that guy.
And we're adding the even as, you know, either it was a good movie, but you didn't like it, or it was a bad movie, but you kind of like it, like in between. So as guests, we'll let you go first. All right. So you're giving a thumbs up. Anthony gives the thumbs up. Adrian. Oh, great movie. Thumbs up for Adrian. Thumbs up. 3 thumbs up from the Seen This crew for Sing Sing. Excellent. That brings us to the end of the podcast. As a reminder, you can follow everything we do on seenthispod.com. We also have an Instagram that is seenthisPod. We have a Blue Sky. We have a Letterboxd, and we're on YouTube at seenthispod. Make sure to follow, like, and subscribe. Comment. We love to have conversations with you. And all of this helps us get exposure on all these social sites that we are selling our soul for. So appreciate your guys' help here. Spread the word. What's coming up next? I think Erica will be joining us for a bonus episode where we will be drafting prison movies, different kind of prison movies. We'll talk about the categories. Anthony, we would invite you for this, but something tells me you haven't seen enough prison movies just yet.
Yeah, given by I said Kevin Hart prison movie. Not too.
Listen,
What I've seen is like Green Mile and like
Pe-
even
people have a hard time with Gen Z, and Kevin Hart over Jamie Foxx is part of the reason why. So listen, all that to say, there's people that share your opinion. You're not alone. You're never alone.
got it.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. Stay safe.